And I will call, the time now is 5 o'clock, and I will call the meeting of the Governing Council of Northpoint Charter School to order. Can I have a roll call?
Yes. This is Deborah Burns. Eileen Johnson. Okay, she's absent. Anthony Padilla.
Here.
Deborah Burns, here. Deborah Jensen.
Here.
Danielle Parker. She's absent. But we do have a quorum, Mr. Padilla.
Okay.
So now, would you, the Pledge of Allegiance?
Okay, now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first part of the action is adopting the agenda. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as it is if there's no changes to the agenda?
This is Deborah Jensen. I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
Can I get a second?
This is Deborah Burns. I'll make a second.
Okay.
Motion.
Can I get a,
Would you like me to do the roll call vote?
yes, please.
Mr. Padilla?
Yes, and
Aye.
aye, thank you.
Ms. Burns? Aye. Mrs. Jensen?
Aye.
That's it.
All right. Well, next, move to the next item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody here from the public that wishes to comment? Okay, we'll make a note that there was nobody from the public wishing to comment.
Yes, sir. Sorry, Mr. Padilla. No one signed in for public comment.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, next is we'll discuss the minutes from our last meeting. Was there any questions or changes from our minutes from the last meeting?
Mr. Padilla, since we've moved those items to the consent agenda, I believe we just asked if anyone wanted to remove either the minutes or the finance items from the consent agenda, and otherwise they can just be approved all at once.
Okay. Okay, I guess then we can move to finance.
Well, yeah, first, I think we need a motion
Do we need a,
to approve the consent agenda if there is nobody who wants to remove any of the items. And a second and then a vote, correct, Lisa?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So Mr. Padilla, if you ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is?
This is Mrs. Burns. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Oh, sorry. This is Deborah Jensen. I'll second that.
All right, and then
Okay.
do a roll call.
Yes, Mr. Padilla?
Aye.
Deborah Burns, aye. Deborah Jensen?
Aye.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We did that. So, let's move to our next item is the, finance.
So, this is Deborah Burns. I was the only member of the finance committee that was able to attend the finance committee meeting prior to this board meeting with our
Okay,
business manager and our executive director. We reviewed all of the financial reports in detail. And we didn't have any cause for concern, or
okay,
anything that we wanted to bring to the board's attention, other than there is a long-term capital plan that I think Ms. Mora is going to summarize in her executive director update later in the agenda.
okay. All right. Thank you very much. That was our finance committee report. Our business manager report.
Yep. Oh, okay, so
Sure.
yeah, so so we went over everything in the the finance meeting as far as disbursements, payroll transactions, charts and graphs, bank recs. We didn't have any issues or questions on anything. So this is going to be my last board meeting for Northpoint. I'll be moving on to other accounting endeavors. So the new business manager going forward today from K-12 is going to be Marie Burma. And I see, we've got that, item C here.
Okay.
And yep, that's all I have for today, as far as the business manager report update.
All right. Thank you very much. This being my first meeting, do we have to do anything? Is there an action for this change?
Not for the reports we just received, Mr. Padilla, but for C, we will need, a motion to approve the change in business manager and a
Okay,
vote.
yeah,
And if I
okay,
could introduce, Marie, this is Marie Boma, and she works with K-12, and since Chris is moving on, K-12 has assigned Marie to take over our school. And Marie, would you like to introduce yourself to the board, please?
Certainly, pleasure to meet you all. I hope I'm not too choppy. You're coming across choppy on my end. So am I choppy or?
You sound great.
Good, good. So my name is Marie Boma. I've been working with K-12 for probably a couple of months. However, I do have 10 years of school business experience with the Alamogordo Public Schools. And so I look forward to meeting you all and working with you all. And please don't hesitate to reach out if you need anything or have any questions.
all right. Well, thank you very much, and glad to have you aboard. And thank you, Chris. Appreciate the time and your help and all your efforts.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay, then I would like to do is I'd like to make a motion to approve Marie Boma as the new business manager. Can I have a motion?
This is Deborah Jensen. I'll make a motion to approve Marie Boma from K-12 as the business manager.
And this is Mrs. Burns. I'll second the motion.
All right,
Mr. Padilla,
yes.
aye. And
Aye.
Mrs. Jensen
Aye.
and myself, aye. Sorry. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm here, I would support you in this process. It's not easy the first
Thank you.
time.
I was like, yes, what's your question? I didn't realize it.
You're doing great, Anthony.
All right, so number 6, finance, number D, capital assets threshold for GASB.
Yep.
Chris, would you like to explain that, or Anthony, sorry, Mr. Padilla, would you like to explain that, or?
No,
I can?
I'll let Chris take it.
I can explain that. So GASB stands for Governmental Accounting Standards Board. And it's not a new GASB standard, but it's my understanding, it's a new interpretation of the existing GASB that was based on a question somebody had asked the GASB in 2019. And it applies to capital assets purchased as a group. So right now for capital assets, for a single item, the threshold is $5,000. However, let's say as we purchased, this year, about 62 computers, desktops, they're less than 1,000 each. So under the current, GASB standards, we wouldn't depreciate it. However, since we purchased them, as a group, totaling about 62,000, this standard would make the school, potentially capitalize these items as a group. And so basically, this discussion is well, what threshold should we set for capital assets purchased as a group? And it's a little bit, this is where the board and management has, some discretion. CLA was recommending a range, for this school size, anything between 25,000 to 50,000 as a threshold. And I think we, based on our prior discussions, we'd kind of tentatively decided, to set a threshold of 25,000 for, capital assets, purchased as a group. So that's basically it. Is so here, so this action item is, we're just to approve, the threshold, and I would recommend, for this school size, around 25,000.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
So does anybody have a comment or concerns about about doing the amount of 25,000?
I don't.
Okay.
I would have to defer to others' judgment about that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, just to clarify, the capitalization threshold for individual items would still be 5K.
Okay. And I think that's good.
Yep.
Okay. Then can I get a motion to approve the this is the capital asset threshold of 25,000.
Sure. This is Mrs. Burns. I'll make a motion to approve the school's capital asset threshold for GASB at 25,000 for aggregating assets. And
And this is Deborah Jensen. I'll second that.
Fantastic. And then do the roll call.
oh, sorry. Now I'm asleep.
That's okay.
Anthony Padilla,
Aye.
Deborah Jensen,
Aye.
Deborah Burns, aye. Motion passes unanimously.
Fantastic. Our next item is inventory disposal.
The one that is on the screen has had a couple of additions to the inventory disposal that was mailed out or emailed out in your packet. I added some sports equipment that is not functional.
Okay.
So everything on the list is either no longer functional, obsolete, and seriously outdated, or there are a number of items you see here that were lost. As I worked with Ashley from Romero Weiner, she suggested that items that were not found on the inventory listing for 2 years in a row go ahead and be removed from inventory. And so
Right.
those are all noted on here. Everything that we do have will be sent to, if it's tech, it will be sent to ABBA to be properly wiped and then recycled. And some
Okay.
non-functional items will go to the city recycling because they're metal.
Okay.
So are
So
there,
how bad does that look to have those lost items on the inventory list? Do you know?
Miss Sandoval from Romero Weiner did not seem overly concerned about it. She said sometimes things go missing, and we do have a couple of Chromebooks on this list that simply went missing. Other things may have been disposed of improperly. I couldn't really tell you, but
Okay,
everything on here that's listed as lost has been gone for 2 years or more.
great.
The thin clients are also listed on here. I did check with ABBA. Those are what we just replaced with the new desktops. And ABBA did not see any reason or use for those thin clients any longer. And so those will go to ABBA to be recycled as well.
Okay.
And there are the tags. So are there any questions about the inventory disposal?
No,
No. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the inventory disposal as it is?
This is Deborah Jensen. I'll make a motion to approve the inventory disposal as presented.
and this is Mrs. Burns. I'll second that motion. Mr. Padilla,
Aye.
Miss Jensen,
Aye.
and Deborah Burns, aye.
Okay. The next item we have is the PSU accommodation expense.
Yes, Mr. Padilla, that is, the PSU stands for Power School University. We do have funding included in the Next Gen grant for 2 employees to attend Power School University. That would be Ms. Dixon and myself. Ms.
Okay.
Dixon would undergo Naviance training, and I would do Power School Administrator training. The reason the accommodations is on here is the state per diem is less than the hotel cost in Anaheim. And so we need approval for the added expense for us to attend that.
Okay.
The hotel cost is at a discounted rate of $274 a night.
Okay. Sounds good. Can we get a motion to approve the PSU accommodation expenses, the additional expenses?
This is Deborah Jensen. I'll make a motion to approve the Power School University additional accommodations expense.
This is Miss Burns. I second that motion.
Okay. I get a roll call.
Oh, Andy Padilla,
Aye.
Deborah Jensen,
Aye.
Deborah Burns, aye.
Okay, next item we have up is the audit committee update. Chris, would you mind?
Sure. Yeah, well, we had a brief meeting, well, I think with the finance committee before this. The audit is progressing as scheduled. And, no showstoppers as far as the audit goes as of
All right.
now. Yep.
Sounds good.
Yep.
All right, look like we have any motion for that. So let's go to the academic performance. We have the academic dean report.
Hello,
Hi, how are you?
good, how are you?
Good, good.
Are you gonna bring it up, Lisa?
I'm trying, yes.
Okay.
And Chris, and Marie, while, of course, while you're both welcome to stay, if you would like to duck out since the finance portion is over, you're free to do so. And Chris, thank you again for your service to the school.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks, everybody.
All right, so this is student course progress from last Friday, September 13th. So overall courses are 70% on track for credit versus 30% not on track. If we look at the last 5 years, this is our first time with a decline from the same date previous years. Not totally unanticipated. We had some curriculum changes. We're doing paper tests in math now, and we are inputting zeros for English essays that are being skipped, which is causing we're hoping a temporary situation while students get acclimated to these new protocols that we're instituting. We did that to improve rigor and to better prepare students for the SAT and the NWBA test, which are such high stake for our renewal requirements.
Hold on, all the other. Sometimes when I open them too early, then they go away. So let me try to pull it back up. And I apologize. There you go.
Okay, if we compare our in-person and remote programs, in-person course completion or on track is 70%, right in line with overall. Remote is 76% on track. The remote students don't have those parameters right now. We're testing out the paper testing in math and the English requirements. So we're not totally surprised that the remote is tracking better. And it historically has tracked better. There's only 14 students there, and they're students that are successful in remote learning. This is just comparing remote and in-person, and it's a very misleading graph because it's only a few percentage points, but it looks like there's huge differences. It's the same thing we kind of just went over. We can move on. So if we do our subpopulation data, again, all students courses 70% on track for 140 students that are in Edgenuity. We do have 5 students that are CNM and or UNM and have no Edgenuity classes. Regular ed, 72% of courses are on track. Special ed, 63% of courses are on track. 504 students, 68% of students are on track. Our new student courses, 58% on track. Native American, 61% of courses are on track. African American, 76% of courses on track. Our gifted students courses, 72% on track. Economically disadvantaged, 74% of courses are on track. And 46% of our ELL student courses are on track. These are the subpopulation trends from this semester, from last year and this month. We do have a little bit of decline. Not really any surprises because we historically tend to have a stronger start, a dip, and then a climb for the next 2 months. The only major difference really is that 504 But we did have 2 students that were in the SAP process that now officially have 504s. They were behind, and that's bringing that down. Then this is looking at subject courses. So if we look at electives, 23 elective courses, one of those courses is behind. 4% of those courses are behind, but electives tend to be student choice. They want to do it. It's easier. That's pretty, they're going to go for those ones first. 33% of social studies courses are behind. 32% of science, 46 of English, and 28 of math. And if we look at the next chart, this is of the total number of courses that are not on track for credit. 32% of those are English and 30% social studies. Math 18, science 19, electives 1%. On the previous graph, they were a little concerned about English. 46% of the English classes not being on track. Ms. Moore and I did have a discussion this morning with our English teacher to come up with a plan and kind of understand why we think that's happening, and some interventions that we can start immediately to kind of head off having issues later on in the semester. Correct it before it's too far gone. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, let's have a report from our executive director.
Okay. First off, we have enrollment report. Last month at our board meeting, enrollment was standing at 145. Today it is at 144. We had one student that never completed registration that was included last month, one that withdrew last week to go to another school, and we had one new enrollment. Continuing to offer tours and hoping to see that number come up. I am glad to see that it's holding steady. It's not declining, as has been the trend over the last few years. It's holding steady as compared to last year, so I'm anxious to see it start going the other direction and start coming up. For recruitment, well, again, we're doing tours, but we also completed the mailer that we discussed last time to E-Academy students that were enrolled in the blended learning program. Since the E-Academy has closed that program, it's very similar to our own. We did send out a targeted mailer to those students. We're hoping to start see some feedback from that and some additional tours and hopefully some new enrollments. And then, of course, as the year moves on, we'll continue with the 8th grade presentations. I worked with the school the last couple of years that hosts a parent night starting in November, and I'm on their contact list. So those should be ramping up as the fall continues and people already start looking at high school for next year, which seems funny when it's September and we're talking about next school year. But they start hosting those parent university type nights pretty quickly. So we'll be involved in those. Okay. For school business, just wanted to update the board that the teacher observation and feedback cycles are well underway. I know I communicated that one of our goals this year was to increase the number of times those were happening, and every teacher but one has already had their first coaching cycle. And so I'm working through those. We have our data coaching professional development scheduled this Friday. And as we work through that, next month, I expect to have the NWEA test results to share with you from the beginning of your assessment. And based on some parent feedback, we're offering a dual credit parent university. So dual credit is an amazing feature of our program. And unfortunately, there are parents that don't know enough about it. They don't know exactly how to sign up for it, what benefits it may offer, or they have some questions about how to receive books and different things like that. So we created a parent university night that has already been communicated to families, and a reminder will be going out. We're going to host it on campus. and have our dual credit coordinator here and just have a chance for parents to come in and ask questions, learn about that program, how their child might benefit from it, and then some basic how-tos on how to navigate the program. So we're excited to offer that. I think it will really help with parent engagement and with understanding some of the benefits the school offers that they might not know about. The last thing I wanted to go over is the capital investment projects that Ms. Burns referenced earlier. Our facility master plan is due for renewal this year. It's due every 5 years. And part of the renewal package is to take a look at the capital investment projects that were planned out 5 years ago and reprioritize exactly what's been done, what needs to be done, has the school's priorities changed. And so what I'd like to do is just review that with you. Did the screen change where you can see that spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. First of all, as an explanation, this list was created first by using the prior list from 2019 and that original facility master plan. I met with the building maintenance director who handles an awful lot of this for us, either himself or he coordinates and secures the proper vendors for it. And we went through the entire list to see what had been done, what needed to be done, and help prioritize when those things should happen. I do want to be clear that this is our plan, our intention. It's to help with budget and expectations. If we needed to change priorities, we're allowed to do so. If we didn't complete something on the list, there's no consequence. We're just looking at long-term maintenance and upkeep and upgrades of the facility. So it's not locked in stone. Most of these things were already on the list, and we just made sure they were in the proper priority. We need some parking lot improvements. The catch basin is out here on the south side of the building. It's a drain pond, and that could use some refurbishment in the next few years. There were some things suggested for a roof ladder, a permanently installed ladder in the attic hatch to get up onto the roof, and he's going to take care of that this year. We're going to have to look in the next few years at some PE refurbishments. The indoor soccer field and the basketball court floor, things like that will need to be upgraded. There's some ADA signage that was on the previous list that has not been done, and our maintenance gentleman is working on that this year and expects to have all that completed. A big one is the restroom renovation. I know we've been talking about that for a couple of years now. I actually have a meeting scheduled again with the architect this Friday as we're looking at some adjustments we might make to bring the expected cost more in line with our capital outlay award, and then using some HB funds to supplement that. We don't have a PA system at the school right now. We have a phone intercom system that is frustratingly unreliable. And as a safety issue, we're beginning to research vendors to have a PA system installed so that everyone can hear announcements quickly. Security upgrades were recommended prior, just to improve our security panel. Mr. Ray is also beginning to get quotes and work through that. There was a suggestion in the past for some maintenance, some renovation to the maintenance janitorial closet. There's not a lot of space in there, but there are some things that could be reorganized and upgraded. This electrical service upgrade is also listed on the previous one, so we continued to include it here. We're not experiencing interruptions to our electrical service now, but that's on there. Something we do need to start considering is an HVAC replacement. You know, we just had a expensive bill for some repairs to the HVAC units, but they're aging. Most of the units are more than 20 years old, and it's time to start looking at replacing them. Mr. Ray gave us this number. This number was the one that was on the original list, and he did some research talking with our HVAC company and believes that this is a more accurate number to replace the units that we have. But the rest of these things, I mean, I'm glad to go through it in as much detail as you would like.
Yeah, I think just hitting the high points, this is really why we need to, I think, and this is the best estimate for when we might need to do this. They might last longer, you know, the roof or the HVAC, but I just felt like it was important for Lisa to share this with the overall board as we think about, you know, capital obligations going forward and, you know, the finances of the school. There's some big ticket items out there that are not going to be sufficient for the current, with the current balance of HB 33 and SB 9. And so we want to, I think it's just helpful for the board to be aware of these things when we're talking about school finances and expenditures and stuff.
Yes, thank you for summing that up so well. Are there any questions about the plan that we've put together?
No.
It looks good. It looks worrisome, you know, the numbers.
It does. It's a little shocking to look at. We have completed a number of upgrades as well. You know, we were able to remove things from that previous list, including the PE acoustical upgrades, the structural engineering study. Some of these things we were able to remove because they've been completed, and others were completed, but we left on there because it's an ongoing thing, like paint. The building has to be painted every few years to keep it in good repair, just like the parking lot has to be sealed and restriped every few years. So they never seem to go away. But these are the priorities that we put together. That's how they were determined. And I do plan to submit this as part of the facility master plan, unless there's something, it doesn't actually need to be voted on, but if there's something you wanted to discuss further, we could do that.
No, I think that it has everything that we need. I mean, for now on it.
Good. Well, thank you then. That's all I have for my update tonight. I'll
Okay.
switch back over here to the agenda.
Okay. Do we have, now we'll move down to the governance. Do we have a academic committee report update?
Well, Lisa and Danielle and I met together, but I guess Danielle's, we'll have to meet again, I guess, Lisa.
Yeah, we had anticipated, I'll get with you, we'll plan
Yeah.
on meeting.
Okay.
Well, because we were gonna present kind of
Some ideas.
about, yeah, and some
Okay.
going over research.
Danielle.
So I guess I'll have to talk to, we'll have to, I guess that plan has changed about how we're divvying that up. So anyways.
Okay. She was kind of she's not here, so we'll move.
No,
to
I
the-
know, and we were going to present something to you. Was that this time or next time? I couldn't remember. I prepared it for today, but well,
It was
I guess,
going to be this time.
yeah. So
Okay, so we'll look forward to next time. So our next item we have is board development. The board development, the 5 annual hours for return.
But yes, just a reminder that that's the new requirement, is 5 hours annually. I know Ms. Burns is well on her way to completing her hours. I did confirm that we can do finance training with K-12. I had initially reached out to Chris to schedule, and we had planned to do it following the board meeting on either next month in October or in November, where we could just do a 1-hour training directly after the board meeting.
and that would be for 1 hour of finance.
Yes, ma'am. with the change, I'll need to confirm with Rebecca if Rebecca wants to do the training now since Marie is so new. So I'll have to get back and confirm those dates.
So I thought the last time that I thought about the board training, there was a question about which training we were supposed to, was that, if there's a selection of hours, do you know that, I'm not being at all articulate in what I'm asking, but
There was a question earlier on because PED had not yet identified which sections those 5 hours had to be in.
yes.
They have now. And so everyone has been sent the training calendar from PED, but only send it so that you have that available. You can
So-
also,
It's okay. I'll go back and find it. Sorry.
you can also get your training at the PCS NM conference, which will be held December 11th through the 13th. That's an option. Or if you prefer to join the ones led by, I think, does Missy lead those, Deborah, that you've attended?
Well, she's got a new colleague, whose name escapes me, but he does it, and she's on, I think his name is Tom. I might be wrong. I like to do them because, I can just fit them in on my schedule as Zoom calls, and I actually did the fiscal one, I think, mainly because I wanted to see if they'd gotten any better over the last 3 years than what they do. It was slightly more applicable for a governing council member, but still not nearly as helpful in understanding school finance as K-12's fiscal training. And now we don't have to do 3 hours, we only have 1 hour.
So Deborah, are you doing 4 hours of this, the online Zoom training and then the 1 hour with the K-12?
I actually did I signed up for all 5 of my hours with this online. If I sit in on the K-12 one, it'll just be extra. I just wanted to see, we originally went to K-12 doing our finance training because the finance training that PED was offering was so inadequate to really understand functions and accounts and
Yes,
what all this stuff means.
yes.
And K-12's was much more helpful in being knowledgeable. That's when we discovered we were sitting on a pile of cash. So, but I wanted to see if this, PED had upped the quality of theirs, and it's maybe a little better, but it still doesn't give you a working knowledge of the finances of the school to the degree the business manager does.
Yeah.
And I recommend that better, more so
Okay,
because of that.
okay.
If Miss Runyon has availability to hold the training for you, are you available after the meeting in October or November? Or is there another date that you guys would prefer?
The days of the meetings work best they work great for me. I'm fairly flexible, but that seems to be convenient to do it in concert with the regularly scheduled Zoom meetings.
Well, good. That's what I thought, especially given that we're much more concise now. I wouldn't want to do the finance training after 8 o'clock when we had longer meetings, but it
Yeah.
seems reasonable now. So
Yeah.
that works for you too, Mr. Fidia?
Yeah, either day would work fine if they're still able.
Okay, I will confirm that with K-12 and just send out emails so that we can get that training scheduled.
All right, sounds good. Okay, are there any, next item, are there any announcements or comments from the board?
Not for me. I'm glad Lisa has sent out the email seeking additional governing council members,
Yeah,
given that Danielle's going to have to step down.
that is unfortunate.
It
Yeah.
is. She was a real asset given her background. But
That's too much.
anyway, she imparted some knowledge to us, enriched us
Yeah.
in her short stint.
Certainly.
And please talk to your friends if you know someone else that would like to come and join you on the governing council.
Will do indeed. Okay. If that is all we have, then meeting is adjourned until our next regular meeting in October the 16th at 5 o'clock.
Very good.
Time is 5:45.
5:45. Oh my gosh.
A new record. Thank you, Anthony. You did great.
Yeah, you did